Two, we ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. We are ready to begin. I think we can close the doors. Everyone joining us today to meet us. I'm sure you all received the program. The first item, it's a moment of silence and the lighting of the candle by legal services. So may we all rise and legal services please approach. allow us to just sing. You can hum along. Ngwele, 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 switching to English. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, 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 holy. You are holy, you are holy, you are holy, holy, holy. May we observe a moment of silence. May his gentle soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I've summoned you all here to discuss the fireworks bylaws. I'm just kidding. We are here about Kassendren Thaver. And you know he was a man of jokes, so it's only befitting that I crack a joke here and there. I've already said my welcome, but I wish to just acknowledge a few people. I greet you all on this Thursday morning, and I appreciate all your presence. I wish to acknowledge specifically representatives from the Thaver family. They took time out of their grieving process to join us here in the municipality to allow us as colleagues to also grieve together with them. So sincere appreciation to them. I wish to acknowledge our principals here in the municipality. They will join us later in the program. It's the Honorable Mayor in his absence, our Honorable Speaker, members of our Executive Committee. I also acknowledge the former Speaker present amongst us, who will take over from me soon and lead us through the program, as well as the municipal manager who will also be joining us later, deputy municipal managers, all senior managers, legal services staff, and all colleagues that are present. And I wish to make you aware that Cass was a people's person, so you've got representation from across the whole organization, not just legal services. There's representatives from human resources, attorneys, counsel, all the way to senior counsel. I wish to acknowledge those that are not in practice, but within the broader legal fraternity. I wish to acknowledge friends, acquaintances, everyone that's present, even the foes, if they are present. You're all welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning, and I trust that we'll be able to all heal together. Part of my intro, in fact, uh, I considered perhaps it's also reflecting in the way that I'm dressed. Um, I intended to, in my opening, uh, take this as a court session. But then I realized that when we are lighting the candle, I already made you rise, so I can't say all rise now. So I'll just say court is in session. I'm calling case number 0411 of 2023. In Msunduze municipality, the matter versus Mr. Kassendren Thaver versus life. I've been instructed to deliver an opening statement in this matter. The turnout here, the broad range of people that are here, it's reflective of who we are here to discuss. We're here to discuss the quality of life that we have experienced here in Msunduze municipality. Hence, the forum is Msunduze municipality. I'll be calling witnesses that will testify to that quality of life. They will testify to his character, to his deeds, and to his amazing works, because we are all gearing towards a predetermined outcome. It's very subjective, but based on the witnesses, we will receive objective evidence of how amazing Cass was. Not just as a human being, but as a lawyer. I actually met Cass in 2020. So I'm assuming that had we met prior, we would have really had a match and we would have vied for this title of the best lawyer between us. But fortunately, since 2020, we've been working together as a team. We have not had that opportunity to challenge each other. But nevertheless, the witnesses will all testify to how he spent his God-given time wisely here at the municipality, and also in outside forums, ranging from civil organizations that he participated in to court. At the end, I'm employing that a verdict be delivered in Cass's favor, that he executed as per instructions. He mastered life, and ultimately, he conquered life. And sit back, relax, and listen to all the good news that you are about to hear. Before we start, though, I wish to call upon a special guest, Bishop S.W. Manyati, who's going to lead us in an opening prayer. In anything we do as legal services, we invite our God. We are a spiritual team, so we will invite our God to embrace us in this gathering and guide us as well. I call upon Bishop Manyati.
You are Alpha and Omega. We worship you, our Lord. You are worthy to be praised. Singasho ndawonye. You are Alpha and Omega. We worship you. You are worthy. We give you all. We give you all the glory. We worship you. You are worthy. To the Thaver family, friends and colleagues, be greeted this morning. To our MC, Siyabingelela, egameni lenkosi, amen. Before we pray, I'd like to draw your attention to the book of Hebrews, chapter number 11, verses number 6. It reads as follows: But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Amen. We gathered here today to celebrate a life of a father, a life of a husband, a brother, and a colleague to many of us. And as we remember him and as we thank God for his life, I'd like to encourage you to have faith in God. To have faith in God, and that says your faith in God is a gift that God has given unto you, and that the faith that we have in God is able to heal our broken hearts, is able to mend our broken spirits. And this morning, as we trust and believe God, Jeremiah says, blessed is a man whose hope is in the Lord and whose trust is in the Lord. Firstly, a couple of thoughts before I pray in this passage of scripture is that faith pleases God. When we believe and when we trust in God, it says without faith it's impossible to please God. So when we have faith in God, God is pleased. Secondly, faith brings us to God, because the Bible says he that comes to him must believe. And so when we have faith, faith draws us unto God in our grief, in our crying, in our pain. But when we believe in God, the faith that we have draws us into the Lord this morning. Can we pray? Siyabonga baba wethu othandekayo, uNkulunkulu wethu omuhle ungcwele. Ekseni siyakholwa amandla akho, siyakholwa igama lakhe elihle. And Father, we trust in you, we believe in you, and we know that you are able to do exceedingly abundantly above all what we can ask for. Siyanikela umndeni ezandleni zakho, siyanikela ama-colleagues ezandleni zakho, siyanikela uNkulunkulu ongcwele umasipala wonke ezandleni zakho, that your Holy Spirit will come upon everybody, uNkulunkulu ongcwele, and comfort bonke babathintekileyo ngokuhamba komfowethu egameni lenkosi uJesu. Lolu hlelo lonke silinikela kuwe sihole, ube nathi njalo egameni lenkosi. Amen.
Thank you very much, Bishop Manyati. I was thinking of punctuating the moment with a song. And so far, I think I have not been successful in pulling the choir together. So I was going to try a different song, the Macarena. I'm just kidding. I see you are all suited up as well as I am looking all fabulous, all in honor of Cass. Cass used to dress well when his mood allowed it or the occasion demanded it. I do also have that tendency. I size my opponent in court and I dress accordingly to intimidate them. Um, Now I'm about to call the real MC to the stage. I'd like to welcome and call upon our program director, former speaker in this municipality, Mr. Babu Baju.
Thank you very much, Nomfudo. I just want to say that Cass has succeeded in pulling us all together. He's been very good at that. But he's also pulled quite a few of us out of the woodwork. And all you need to do is look at for the gray hair and the white hair around, and you know who came out of the woodwork. And there are quite a few of us here. And I want to acknowledge you because we spent a lot of time together in this municipality when Cass joined us, I think around 96 or 97. But I think it's also important to note that Cass didn't just fall out of the sky and end up in the city hall. He was developed in a particular area of the city amongst a certain people. And before they do that, let me greet you correctly. So, good morning, Sanbonani, Assalamu alaikum, Vanakkam, Namaste, Om Sai Ram, to the Thaver and the Pillai family and the Sai Foundation. You are very warmly welcome. We're very pleased to be here to celebrate Cass's life. Like I say, I think most of the speakers here will speak about Cass's contribution in his legal capacity. But I'm going to throw you in a few anecdotes just to show you how Cass grew up and where he grew up and how he developed his political skills. And the first thing I'm going to do is say that he got his grounding. Everybody says that a child is brought up by a village, and Cass was brought up in the village of the northern areas. And one of those people that played a major contribution to his life was his mom, his dad, his late dad, Nad. I was fortunate enough to be the neighbors in Paradise Drive. But I also want to remind people that there was a period before 2000 when the transitional local council and the first ever elections we fought in 1996. And I think two of those ward councils are still around. I don't see Kevin Perumal, but he was one of the first ward councillors was elected for Northdale in 1996. The other is around as Cass's father-in-law, and is Victor Pillai. Victor, I would like you to take, he was the ward councillor for Ward 4 in the Bombay Heights area in those days, and he won a resounding victory against the old government. So Victor, I think we'd like to acknowledge you. If you could just, don't feel shy to stand up. Let the others see you because people don't know you. The younger generation do not know where we come from. So we'll use Cass's celebration to remind us where we come from and where we are right now. With that, the first person that's supposed to be addressing us is the municipal manager, and I believe he's not here. So on behalf of the colleagues, may I call upon Ms. Koli Nzingi. Are you here?
Thank you, Program Director. His Worship, the Mayor, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, the MM, the Deputy Municipal Managers, colleagues, and everyone in the house, you are acknowledged. To the family of Kassendren Thaver, may the peace of our Creator, which surpasses all understanding, be with you during this difficult time in your lives. I stand here today as a messenger from the legal section family, which Kassendren Thaver, who was affectionately known as Cass, was a member of. For the sake of those who did not know him that well, or those who knew him from a distance, let me attempt to paint a picture for you of who this man we are all gathered here today to remember. First and foremost, Cass was a gentleman. He treated everyone he crossed paths with the utmost respect, irrespective of color, gender, creed, or social status. Cass knew no difference. Cass Thaver was a hard worker, at times to the annoyance of his colleagues. Because when he was at work, you had to tighten your belts because you are not going to see your lunch breaks. And as to where he got this energy himself, it still remains a mystery to us, because I promise you, we hardly saw Cass eat. Cass was a mentor and a father figure to some of the colleagues. He was an advisor and a confidante to others. Cass was a humble man and a very spiritual being. He was a family man who worshipped the ground that his family walked on. Every chance he got, he will speak about his children and wife, their achievements, and so forth. That man lived for his family. And if there's any special message I'd like to pass to his family today, it is exactly that. Cass loved you very much. He did, however, had a mischievous side to him. Cass would, in the middle of a meeting, while everyone is serious, concentrating, paying attention to the meeting, he would throw in a joke and make everyone laugh like nobody's business, while he himself is not even smiling. As jovial as he was, please make no mistake of underestimating the man's brilliance. He had a sharp legal mind and would never shy away from deepening the conversation or engaging in difficult topics, such that when Cass is in the meeting, you are relieved, for you know that whatever challenges may come, he will handle them. He was resourceful. As I am about to conclude my speech, I want to mention that we have seen Cass battle with ill health for a very long time. Now and then, Cass will be in hospital and be back to work again, such that this to and from the hospitals had become a norm. And it did not really worry us anymore because we knew he would be coming back to us soon. This time around, when he fell sick again, we thought that it is one of those. He's coming back to us. Never had we imagined that we would at this time be speaking of him in the past tense. One of the colleagues in our counseling session yesterday said that Cass was gradually slipping away from us, yet we did not notice it. In closing, we want to assure the family that it is not only their loss, but it is the loss of legal services as well. It is a loss to corporate services, a loss to the Sunduzi municipality, a loss to the Pietermaritzburg community, and certainly a loss to the nation. To the family, be comforted in knowing that he lived his life and he lived it well. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Koli. That was wonderful, warm tribute. They say history has no blank pages, but from time to time, I think what we do is that we put the history book away to collect dust. So from time to time, we need to open certain pages and think about, otherwise they get forgotten. Cass's political life started in the 80s. He was schooled in the United Democratic Front, the Congress Alliance, the Orient Heights Ratepayers Association, Pubi Govensamy, you'll remember the Pietermaritzburg Combined Residents and Ratepayers Association. We had organized a huge march to the City Hall against the previous council, the old white council, for fair rates. Almost 10,000 people from the northern areas of march. Cass was influential in painting those placards and making the banners for that march. So he comes from a strong history of resistance politics as well. So before I call the next speaker, and we still don't have our political principles yet, I'll acknowledge them as they come in. I want to call upon the chief professional nurse, Mr. Sandile Dube, who's going to speak about leukemia awareness. Mr. Dube, please.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I'd like to start by greeting all our management, our top management in this municipality, starting from the political head, that is the Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Speaker, Municipal Manager, Deputy Municipal Managers, Senior Managers, and most importantly, the family of Mr. Kassendren Thaver, as well as all the colleagues and acquaintances that he happened to rub shoulders with in the legal fraternity. It becomes a problem when you come from a different field and you have to speak to legal minds, because you're not sure if you were in court, you are going to escape with whatever you have said in this platform. Nonetheless, my job that I've been asked to do is that, as I've already been introduced as the chief professional nurse, I work in a department which is occupational health and safety, And our responsibility is that we are actually entrusted with the responsibility of looking into the general health and wellness of all the Sunduzi municipality employees. I want to also start by saying that as OHS, that is the unit that I'm working under, which falls under the Corporate Services Department, wish to extend our heartfelt condolences on behalf of the department to the Thaver family, more especially to his wife, his children, and all the extended family. Before I accepted what I had to talk about here, I double checked if it would be appropriate to discuss the disease or the condition from which Mr. Thaver succumbed to. Nonetheless, I was given the assurance that the family is okay with it. Therefore, I stand here tall, knowing that it's not out of order. Otherwise, the Honorable Speaker would say I'm out of order. First of all, I would like to talk about the causes of cancer just broadly. Cancer by definition is a medical condition which manifests in the form of abnormal cells that just prop up in your body or in any organ of your body. It could be in the brain, it could be in the bones, stomach. If you look at the physical aspect of a human body. So it can crop up anywhere. And researchers in the medical fraternity have always looked for the causes of this, but unfortunately, no concrete cause of cancer has been found by all those medical researchers. So I think we all know that he also succumbed to leukemia, I believe, which is also cancer of the blood. The common forms or types of cancers. Now, there are those that are prevalent in males and those that are prevalent in females. In males, most of the time, is prostate cancer. It's cancer of the esophagus, and cancer of the lungs. And then with the ladies, it's usually cancer of the breast, cancer of the cervix, and obviously sometimes it affects all other parts of the body, but the common one is the cancer of the cervix and the breast. Now, coming back to leukemia, I just want to share a sad story that is directly linked to my family. I come from a family of people that have been diagnosed with cancer. My father died from cancer of the esophagus. My grandmother, who gave birth to my father, she died from cancer of the cervix. I'm talking about in the 1940s. My uncle, who comes after my father, he had prostate cancer, but he was fortunate that he lived in America because he was in exile. And as a result, he got the best medical care in New York, and he's the only one that survived until the age of 85. Now, all of them, oh, by the way, including the last born in my father's family, also had leukemia. So what I'm trying to say here is that sometimes cancer runs in the family. That is why when I was at high school, like all young boys, I used to smoke. And when I started training as a nurse and got to know the most common causes of cancer, I found out that cigarette smoking is also one of the main causes of cancer. And that is why I stopped smoking. And I suppose it has helped me to survive up to this age. that I'm in. I'm somewhere in the 50s and 60s. I'm not going to say how old. Yeah. But unfortunately, as I've already said, that cancer just comes out, those abnormal cells. Cigarette smoking is actually a contributory factor, but there are other cancers which just comes out because of your genetic makeup. That is, as I've already said, in my family, I'm very cautious that every year, or if I've missed in that year, every second year I make sure that I do what we call PSA. It's a test for prostate cancer, because you have to make sure that you know the doctor, I mean the laboratory, they take the blood specimen and they pick up if you're starting to develop those cancer cells. Likewise, with the ladies, as custodians of the health and wellness of employees, we have programs where we encourage our ladies, where we invite um, our partners in the health fraternity to actually do things like pap smears, which is cervical cancer screening, as well as breast cancer examination and screening. Because I don't want to waste a lot of time, but what I can say is that it is very important that all of us, because what usually happens is that you find, out of the blue, you suddenly develop some pain coming from a certain part of your body. It's very important that you stand up and seek for medical help. Go to your doctor so that the doctor can advise you, because first of all, he or she will start by examining you. After examining you, he or she will then tell you that, no, I think I have to send you, for further tests, so that if you have developed cancer, if you have cancer cells, which is usually at the beginning, it's usually localized. In other words, it's usually in one place. you know, um, just an example, you would find that you develop in the ladies, in the case of the ladies, but it happens to men as well. If you see that there's a sudden lump that is developing on your breast and it's small, don't wait until it develops into a large one, because then by then you find that the cancer cells have spread to everywhere in the body. Now, when you have leukemia, unfortunately, because the blood circulates throughout the entire body, up to the brain, so it easily becomes spread on all parts of your body, because the blood has got to go to all organs of your body, which is why it becomes so difficult to cure it. But nonetheless, it's very important that other forms of cancers, including leukemia, if you start feeling an abnormal pain for a prolonged period of time, it's important that you need to make sure that you go and get assistance from a medical practitioner. With those few words, I just want to say we are really, we wish to extend our condolences to the Thaver family, but we hope that he is resting now, given that cancer is very painful, I must mention. Whilst the family will be missing him, but he is resting at this moment in time. I thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Mr. Duber. That was enlightening, and I think it gave all of us a bit of thought that we need to take care of ourselves as well. In introducing our municipal manager and the political leadership and the senior managers are not here yet. They're busy in an exco meeting, and hopefully they will join us soon, and I will acknowledge them as they come in. But in introducing our next speaker, who is Mr. Pubi Govindsamy, I think it'll be important for us to get a little bit of background. Pubi Govindsamy is been in practice now for well over 30 years, I know. But he was the attorney that held our trust account when we went on a rates boycott in 1989. He'll probably tell you how much of that money he held until this municipality agreed to give us a group areas rebate in the northern areas, which gave some relief to the people of the northern areas at that time. But Cass also got his legal grounding in Pubi Govindsamy's office. Cass did his articles in Pubi Govindaswamy's office, so I think Pubi Govindaswamy is probably well versed in Cass's life. I have pleasure in calling Comrade Pubi Govindaswamy to address us. Pubi, if you can then introduce Advocate Fleming after that, and he could then. Okay.
Sanibonani Nonke. Good morning, everybody. I've brought with me my cell phone, and I brought with me the paper in which I've tried to put this speech together. And I also brought with me the water that I need so much to give me the confidence that I can do what I can do this morning. Babu, thank you very much for the introduction. Forgot I needed my glasses as well. Yeah, Senior Manager of Legal Services, Mfondo Stope. Thank you, I think, for organizing this on behalf of the municipality. One does not understand sometimes the amount of work that goes behind the scenes at short notice to arrange this particular memorial service. So thank you very much for that. To the senior officials of the municipality, the mayor, deputy mayor, the municipal manager, all the senior managers, and all of you, the councillors that are present, the family of Kassendren Thaver, we call it the Mudli family, the Thaver family, the Pillay family. I won't go into those details. And also the legal profession that's here. I want to acknowledge Advocate Yoga Mudli, Senior Counsel, who also was involved, Babu, drafting the papers that we brought against the municipality, the apartheid structure then in place here, when we couldn't address you from this very hall because we were not allowed here. When the march ended here at the City Hall, we were standing outside and the white officials were standing on the balcony, you'll remember, Babu. I'm not too sure why they refused to accept our memorandum. But the late Judge Mohammed Yoga, you'll remember, we went to see him in Johannesburg when we drafted those papers. Also to acknowledge there's the Asif Essa, who's the chairperson of the Provincial Legal Practice Council, who's here. And there are many of our senior colleagues who are also here. I don't want to mention you by name. I see you here and I recognize you. What I'm about to deliver is what some of you may have heard at Kass's funeral. So please bear with me if it does not sound too appealing to you, that I'm boring, but I need to say it. This is a difficult time for me in particular, and I'm sure for all of you, family and friends and colleagues. Kass shocked us all when he left this earth. It shocked us simply because, as Koli said, and Koli, by the way, Koli Nzingi, who spoke on behalf of her colleagues, also did part of her articles and finished some of her time as a professional assistant at my office. And like Kass, departed to the municipality. Koli talked about the shock, but always thought that Kass was ill from time to time and they will make a recovery and he will be back with us. The shock is that Cass is no more. Cass is gone. And that is the shock that I speak of. You allow me to extend sincere condolences to Kamini and the family, the two boys and the girl. I'm not sure, I don't see them here. Probably the traditional mourning, being at home causes them not to be here. Cass's mum, Amra, condolences to you again. And I said this before, that Uncle Nad is probably looking from above, receiving his son now, who is on his journey towards our Creator, because he too is there in the hands or in the abode of our Creator, welcoming Cass. Condolences also to Cass's sisters, Dawn and Malini, the brother-in-laws, also to the extended Thaver family, the Mudli and Pillai families, our colleagues in the legal profession and friends. I came to know Cass in the early 1990s. He was then a young law student, and like Babu has mentioned, he was heavily involved in activism, political activism in the northern areas. Babu will recall, with many of us here together with Uncle Victor Pillai, that we were trying to establish the first branch of the ANC in the northern areas. Now you'll remember here that the ANC was banned and then unbanned, and because it was banned, one couldn't get involved in any political activity, and therefore the UDF became a home for us, and prior to that, the Mass Democratic Movement. But Cass was a student at that time. He was politically aware. And I found him when Babu was convening many of those meetings, and if I recall, Cass was asked to become the assistant treasurer of that interim committee of the ANC in the northern areas. And that's where I met Cass. And remember now, this is a student, and there are many activists much more senior than him, but he was involved in doing all of that work like the seniors would do. Cass came across as an energetic, intelligent, and as I mentioned, a politically aware young man. The one thing that I will not forget is that he drove a yellow vehicle. I'm not too sure what to make is, Auntie Amra, but he was really falling down. It had holes all over the place, stickers all over the place, and one had to be careful when driving with Cass in that yellow vehicle. More importantly, what was Cass all about at that time? He was concerned with the issues of poverty. He was concerned about the vote. He was concerned about unemployment. And he was concerned about how the large majority of our people were living during the conditions of apartheid, and the hope that we had for the forthcoming elections, obviously through the vehicle of the ANC that we were trying to establish as a branch then. He was optimistic. He still had that optimism prior to his death. He never failed and never wavered. I also came to know that Cass had a few more years to complete his law degree. And because I came to know him a little better, when he requested that I take him on as an article clerk, I did not hesitate and gladly accepted him to do his apprenticeship with me, studying the practice of law. He completed his law degree on time, going to university in the mornings before he came to work, and then, of course, after 5 o'clock, which the University of Natal in Pietermaritzburg, which has now got a changed name, the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Pietermaritzburg campus, had offered at that stage. And just to digress a little, some of our friends and family are here who went to bush colleges such as the University of Durban-Westville. Those privileges were not allowed to us. A student had to go there full-time, complete full-time, and you had to pass your courses one after the other. And if you failed the first one, you couldn't go on to the second course. So the University of Natal was flexible, and that was the difference. And that enabled Cass to finish his articles and his studies within 2 years. I must say that Cass served me, and Asif, the word is diligently, faithfully, and honestly. And he did that. And we heard the word testify, when you sign an affidavit of what you're done in your articles, one of the things you have to say that you faithfully served your principle, faithfully, honestly, and diligently. Cass had done so. Cass was admitted as an attorney in September 1993. He worked hard. He showed an affinity for criminal and civil litigation. And of course, with his background, his political awareness, it had a bent towards human rights. After a short time in private practice, in partnership with the late Norman Abraham, Cass then, not unexpectedly, joined the Mzinduzi municipality as a legal advisor. Cass there too, when one came into contact with him, either as an opposition lawyer or doing something on behalf of the municipality, he, for me, excelled in his work. He maintained at all times the high standards of the legal profession. One may ask, why did Cass join the Mzinduzi municipality? If one understood the background of Cass and where he came from, wanting to serve the South African society, wanting a better society for particularly the poor, wanting to advance the challenges in a positive way of housing, education, and all the ills of our society that still presently exist, then the Mzinduzi municipality was the natural home for Cass Thaver. During his articles of clerkship and during his stints with Norman Abraham, and of course later at the Mzinduzi municipality as the legal advisor, Cass did not forget that he was also a member of the National Association of Democratic Lawyers, in short, NADEL. This was his other home, the political home of lawyers. NADEL was formed in 1987, and he always had a deep admiration for then Advocate Pius Langa, the president of NADEL, who became the Chief Justice later of the Constitutional Court in our judiciary. He also had a deep admiration for Advocate Dalla Umar, the Vice President who came from the Western Cape, and who also ended up being the first Minister of Justice in our constitutional democratic South Africa. Cass looked up to them many, many times. He wanted to meet with them, and of course he did. And because of that, he got involved heavily in the programs of NADEL. He would travel to Johannesburg, attending some of the workshops. He got involved in issues concerning the drafting of the Bill of Rights that became the Bill of Rights and the forerunner to the Bill of Rights in our Constitution, just as a young lawyer. And I can testify to that because Cass was under my wing and a close compatriot at that time. Now, at the funeral, I talked about Cass's marriage and how it came to be that he got to know Kamini and how he fell in love with Kamini. During those early days in the 1990s, Uncle Victor urged me to bring my two kids, who were quite young then. I think Reshan was 4 or 5 and maybe younger, and Ryan was 7 years older than him, just to come to the ashram to understand things like human values, simple things of kindness and caring, respect, being responsible. And it's a Saturday class, bring them along. Of course, we did that, and I ended up coming from an atheist background, like yoga then, and debating all the issues of whether there's a God or not. And Cass then said to me that you seem to be disappearing earlier on a Thursday. Where are you going to? Can I join you? And that's how Cass landed at the ashram, the Jodi Nilayanam temple in Seagull Road. He thought I was a big spiritual aspirant. I think he was mistaken because he got to know that. He thought I was deeply religious. No, it was not that. It was through Uncle Victor about what can be done for the kids. Well, it was there that he cast his eye on Kamini. And of course, I said before that the rest is history. They married, they have 3 kids, and Cass had a happy marriage. On the score, let me say that Cass had a deep love for his family, his mom and dad, his sisters, his brother-in-laws. But you know, when you get married again, there is another love that you have. That is the love that Cass had for Kamini and the kids. I will come back to some of the incidents of how we spoke at the what we spoke about at the office 6 weeks ago. We'll deal with that. But Cass loved his family. Remember that always. Because of my involvement in sport, there were times that at an international level, Cass, because of his enthusiasm and love for sport as well, joined me, I think, in 2004, when South Africa was bidding for the World Cup of 2006, which we lost to Germany. And we traveled, because I was part of a subcommittee of the main local organizing committee and my involvement in SAFA. We went to Zurich in Switzerland just to be part of the announcement, which we thought would be in our favor, and to be part of that celebration, hoping that we can bring something new to South Africa since the Rugby World Cup success in 1995 and the Africa Cup of Nations in 1996, when South Africa won that tournament. Such was Cass's enthusiasm for sport. And we did the same thing. When India, due to its having the national elections in 2009, the IPL landed up in South Africa. And we traveled the length and breadth of the Gauteng. I visited all those stadiums enjoying the cricket. The other day we heard that Cass was a supporter of Tottenham Hotspurs. I don't think he attended any one of the games physically. But you know, the joke was always that if you did not support internationally a team like Manchester United or Liverpool, then don't even talk, Cass. Don't even talk about the other teams because you don't come anywhere near the success. Locally, Cass was a supporter of Manning Rangers. And if those who are involved in football and know a little bit of history, Manning Rangers won the first championship. They won the league in the first year of the United Professional League in South Africa. So that's a team he supported. Unfortunately, Manning Rangers was relegated, and that was the end of Cass's support for any of the professional teams here in South Africa. Importantly, over the years, Cass became more and more involved in religion and culture. And in the recent past, I got to know that he learned Sanskrit, the oldest written language in the world. He was able to translate the Vedic scriptures from Sanskrit into English. He was also able to recite and explain the various mantras. Can you imagine Cass, the activist, that did some naughty things that I still do, eating meat, transformed. He was now a vegetarian, teetotaler, and now understanding Sanskrit. About 6 weeks ago, Cass and I were working on a case together, and during that time, I requested some advice from him. I was instructed by the Department of Transport on some pothole claims. I'm told that they're coming in fast and furious. And because of his involvement in those matters, the Mzinduzi municipality having been sued, I called upon him to share some precedents with me. He did so. And of course, I sought his legal advice on the statutory notices, how that pans out, what can one do to defend those things, the case law concerning those issues, since we're now in a constitutional democracy. He readily made those things available to me. Also, the issue of negligence in regard to pothole claims is slightly different from the usual principles of negligence that we know of in just accident matters or matters concerning medical negligence and so forth. But Cass was able now to become my principal. The roles were reversed. I was now his teacher. And that's the irony of it. And that's a transformation that I talk about that Cass was able to get to at this age of 58. It struck me how Cass, the young man that I met years ago, was now the wise and transformed Cass. What he didn't lose through all of it was his values of compassion and kindness for the needy and the less fortunate. I got to know also that he was seeking answers to deep spiritual questions. We spoke about death. He spoke lovingly about my late son, Eration, who died in a motor vehicle accident on the 6th of January 2012. And this is important because he had a deep admiration for Eration. Now, as I said, Cass started articles in 1991. Eration was in primary school. He was born in 1987. And he was extremely naughty, terribly naughty. He would take the books that they were working with, he would throw them around. The pencils or pens that they used was no longer to be seen. He kicked them. He wrote on the desks. It was just naughty. But you know what Cass said to me? He called me Mr. Govindasamy then. Mr. Govindasamy, when I marry, I want my first child to be a boy. And I want my first child to be as naughty as Eration, if not more naughtier than Eration. And I said to him, what do you mean? He says, because from what he understood is that a naughty individual can become a man that grows into a gentleman, and will be an asset to the community. I know that Davian is not here. I wanted him to hear this. This is what his father spoke about. This is what he reminded me of 6 weeks ago. And he was saying to me that he's happy to record that Davian is growing into this gentleman. And he wants Kaylin to follow, Janavi to do the same thing as a gentlewoman, to grow up being assets to the community, to advance community interests, values, culture, which he was teaching them. And I said, Cass, you did a good job. They will continue your legacy. One of the other things that he spoke about was, and this is all about death, remember. Leave the pothole issues, it's about death. Why didn't you shed a tear when you came from India to arrive here suddenly because your son had passed away? I told him, Cass, that the tears were shed all along the way from India in the plane between Pam and I. Pam and I is not here, she's ill today. So when we landed here, the shock of now understanding that you're coming home and your son is no more, the tears stopped, the shock hit you, because you're now on the ground of your country, South Africa, and you're coming home to a funeral. Now, those are the things that we shared, not knowing that Cass will also be no more a few weeks later. That is the shock. That is the shock for me. That is a shock for many of you too. So that is just an uncanny story. Look at the irony of all it. It makes sense now, but it didn't make sense to me then. But let me share 2 more stories with you. I know I'm taking a little long. Coley said that Cass was not a person you'd see him eat. Even if there's a function, you will not see him eat. When he was at the office as well, Cass only wanted a cup of tea. So the staff, the secretaries will make the tea. He would always thank them. He would thank them over and over. On one occasion, he didn't thank them. And then he said to me, Pubi, just excuse me for a while, I need to leave to talk to the secretaries. And they reported to me that he was so upset that he didn't thank them, that he thanked them then and he apologized. That was Cass, the transformed Cass. The second thing he said to me was that I must make it a point of trying to feed the unemployed, those who are looking for a job, sitting out there in Grayling Street opposite the Thistle Hotel, those that are at the back street of Mani's garage, also looking for employment, unemployed people. He said, nobody understands that they may have come from home without a meal. They are sitting there in the hot sun, sometimes the cold and the rainy days. And he said, that gives him the comfort and the pleasure and the joy of doing something for the unemployed. And you know what? For the officials of the Mzinduzi municipality, his colleagues, this is what he did before he got to work. And this was an everyday thing, every week thing, that him and his family would get up in the morning and make those sandwiches, peanut butter, sometimes jam. And then, of course, he himself will deliver it to those unemployed work seekers. And that is what Cass did. I say that it is never easy to understand the drama of life and death. We know that these questions have been asked many, many times. Ancient civilizations have grappled with it. Today, we also grapple with those questions. Why life? Why death? Why don't we know about death? We know a little bit of life. We know the 9 months. We know what happens there and we can predict. But death, we can't. We know, however, that death is certain. Cass was a devout Hindu. And I mention this because it's important. When on the day of the funeral, the cremation took place, the family and friends went out to immerse the ashes in the sea. It's a ritual coming from ancient times through the Hindu culture and Hinduism in itself. Cass was a firm believer in it. And he understood that upon death, the body is like a rag to be discarded. And it did not matter how the body had to be discarded, whether by burial or cremation. He understood that it is only the soul that remains. The soul, which is infinite, has no beginning or end, formless, but transcends from one body to another until that very soul attains, in Sanskrit, it's called moksha, and in English, it's called liberation, the freedom of the soul, the merging of the soul with the divine. I made the point that Cass was a transformed person. Cass, the caring, warm, kind, and compassionate, yet gentle soul full of love. I think when you reach that peak in your physical life, then the soul does not transcend, moving from one body to the other, where you'll then still feel the pains of life. That soul reaches and merges with the divine. And I say this because I believe in what the spiritual master, Sri Satya Sai Baba, had to say about this. And I quote, when one is strongly established in love, Cass was strongly established in love, one qualifies for emergence with the divine. Divine is the creator. And to become one with the divine. That's the message from the divine master. For me, then, there is no doubt that Cass, your soul has attained moksha and has merged with the divine. In conclusion, I say on behalf of everybody, goodbye, Cass, my dear friend. Cass, we remember you as a loving husband, father, son, brother, relative, colleague, and friend. Cass, we remember you as a dedicated cadre of the African National Congress. Cass, we remember you as a hardworking, honest, and ethical member of the legal profession. Cass, we remember you as a dedicated, loyal, and trusted legal advisor of the Mzinduzi municipality. Go well, dear friend and colleague. Ambakashle, Mgani Wami, Sakwetu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Puvi. You ran us through a lot of Cass's history, which many of us probably didn't know about, and thank you very much for that. Our next speaker is Advocate Anton Fleming, who was a very close friend of Cass's. Can I welcome you to the stage?
Mr. Program Director, esteemed friends and colleagues. Today in the main, I'm mandated merely to extend to the Thaver family the condolences from the Pietermaritzburg Bar Council, the chairman and deputy chair, as well as the members of the society. But especially the most senior member of our bar, Advocate Yoga Mudli SC, asked me to convey his condolences as an old friend of the Thaver family and the extended family. Now, I knew that Mr. Govindasamy as well as Mr. Ori, who will follow me, will have, well, rather on a better position than I am to set out Cass's history as a freedom fighter, as a lawyer, in earlier days of his practice. I'm fortunate enough to remember the very first day I met Cass 17 years ago. And unfortunately, also the day that he was diagnosed with leukemia, which is the last day that I saw him. So, having extended the condolences of the bar, I would just like to take 2 minutes just to mention one or two small little memories that I have of Cass. And it was very striking that Mr. Govind Swami mentioned Cass's, shall I say, transformation, where he took on a life of following the spiritual realm. He was, as said, a very devout Hindu. He became a vegetarian. And knowing Cass for such a long time, I could see that that was not just a religion for him, but that became a way of living. On many occasions, when we worked together, he would impart this knowledge on me, and he would teach me in the ways and teach me to be gentle, kind, and loving to people. And that, in as much as he was, in my personal view, as much as I'm biased, a brilliant attorney who always contributed to any case, his spiritual insights is what I will remember of Cass. He did not only remember people for what they have done for him recently. On many occasions, he told me about when he first met Carmony, and Uncle Vic would invite him to his house, bestow on him the honor of sitting at the head of the table and inviting him as a part of the family. And that is, I don't know, excess of 20, 30 years ago. And still, up until this year, he would mention things like that. And that would speak of the character of the man that we called our friend, our brother Cass. Now, it is custom when one has to say something about somebody at their funeral, you focus on the good aspects, the good memories, and you highlight those. I can honestly say that while thinking of Cass over the last few days and trying to think of something positive to say, it's probably the first time in my life that I was unable to prepare for addressing a crowd because there were so many memories that just came to the fore. But my point is, all the memories are good memories. I just remember a gentle, good, devoted, loving man. I did not have the task of having to sift through pleasant memories, less pleasant memories, or bad memories. I can say honestly that the man I knew for 17 odd years was a good man, was an inspiration. He lived for Carmony, as we've heard, and his kids. I spoke to Davian yesterday morning briefly, and he just had wonderful things to say about his dad. Kaylin, who respected his dad in every way, and Janavi, who surely is lost with that rock in her life, having left us. But we've got the comfort where Carmony can say, I was married to a good man. Davian, Kaylin, and Janavi can say, our father was truly a good man. Those might sound like empty words, but for those of you knew Cass, and I'm sure that's all of you, you would know what a big compliment that is. If he could prepare something to say today or have read out on his behalf, I'm sure that he would share a positive, beautiful memory of each of you. And knowing Cass, I know that he would have had something positive, something loving, and something good to say about each of you. As I said, I'm merely here to convey the condolences of the Pietermaritzburg Society of Advocates. But if you'll indulge me for 1 or 2 more minutes, during our various conversations, we spoke about the future, about Cass retiring. And one day I said to him, Cass, when you will eventually retire, I think you should become a magistrate. You're suitably qualified, intellectually qualified, you're a good person. And he said to me, I could never become a regional court magistrate because God has bound husband and wife together, and I, as a mere mortal, cannot preside over divorces. That is the way his heart was. That is the way he thought of people. Earlier this year, he celebrated his 30th year as an admitted attorney. He took leave on that day. He did not go out and purchase himself something and rewarded himself. He did not take pride in the fact that he has achieved a milestone, but he went out, he prepared food, as we heard from Mr. Govinsamy, and he distributed that food to needy people as a thank you for the honor he had to have been appointed for 30 years as a magistrate. Now, that is the man I knew. As I said earlier, you probably knew the lawyer inside Cass, the activist, better than I did, or I ever could, because of your very long-standing relationships with them. And yes, I knew and I worked with a brilliant attorney. But these are the memories that will stay with me. The man who would always admonish me to be good to others. If somebody wronged me, he would say to me, show them love. If he spoke about a family member or a couple who got divorced, he said, I've got a duty to reunite them because God placed them together. Never did he come and speak about his needs. He always spoke about serving others. And we've got wonderful lawyers, advocates, people that I admire. If I may, yoga, somebody of your experience. But on a personal and a spiritual level, I strongly believe that the legal fraternity in Pietermaritzburg will never encounter a man like Kassendren Thaver. Carmine always joked and said, he's my older brother. And I'm so grateful to know that that's the way he treated me. The nice thing about Cass, I'm sure that's how he treated each and every one of you. I have a young son, and I always said he needs to grow up to be a decent, respectful young man. And I can, with a clear conscience today, say, if my little man grows up to be half the man that Cass was, I would be eternally grateful and really a very happy father. Cass was a beacon of light, was a wonderful attorney, a great friend, and I feel I have the honor of saying he was a brother. We will always miss him, we'll always love him, but know that that's the way he felt about each and every one of you present today. Throughout his illness, he was always strong, he always prayed. He always believed that God would heal him and look after him. And as much as it's hard for us, I know that he's safely in the hands of God. I know he's been rewarded for everything he's done for you, for me, for the feeding schemes that he ran in the communities that I'm sure very few people knew about. During our unrest a few years ago, he purchased food, he purchased little ovens, and he distributed to the needy people. And once again, when everybody else was scrambling to look after themselves, we knew Cash was out there trying to help others. It was a privilege to call him my friend, call him my brother, to Carmony, the kids, Cass's sister and mom, who he absolutely loved and adored. Thank you for lending him to us, to giving us the privilege to have him in our lives, and know that you are in our prayers, and that the man who has departed was a good man, and he'll always be remembered and loved as such. As I said, his legal career, his political career, you know more about that than I do. Left it to Mr. Govinsamy. I'll leave that to Mr. Ori to finish and inform you. I just want to say, Cass, we'll miss you. We love you, and we miss you, our brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Fleming. As you all can see, that Cass touched many, many lives in many, many ways. Bobby, you were correct. Cass did have that yellow Mazda that was held together by holes. And he was my neighbor, so he used to come past my home in the mornings, and we prevented him from parking on the driveway because the car leaked oil. But he came every morning and took a rose from a rose garden. I'm not too sure where he took the rose to. We need to investigate that one. I want to now invite to speak on behalf of the Friends, but am I correct? Let me just warmly welcome His Worship the Mayor, who's just joined us. Mr. Mayor, welcome. And the Deputy Mayor, His Worship Mkolisi Mkiz and the Mayor Mkolisi Mzi Tobola, you're very, very welcome. If I was still the speaker, I would have docked your pay. You didn't hear that one. Can I then call upon, on behalf of the Friends, Mr. Mahendra Ori?
Program Director. I'm sure not everyone is present. However, I will honor I will acknowledge the Honorable Mayor and Deputy Mayor of the Mduzi Municipality, the Municipal Manager and Deputy Municipal Manager, Honorable Councillors and officials, the Speaker, the Legal Division and staff of the municipality, esteemed colleagues, friends, and of course, the Thaver family. Ode to a friend. I find myself in the unenviable position of being one of the last speakers to pay tribute to Cass since his funeral. Of course, I'm under no illusion that the best was saved for last, as you will soon discover. It does not help that the official program perfectly encapsulates Cass, a loving husband and father, a great lawyer, a comical and wise friend, a beacon of humility and ethics, a perfect gentleman, and a mentor. What more can be said about Cass? I think the program director requires me to deliver a very short tribute, and maybe I should take that cue. As most of you may be aware, Cass had been unwell for some time. However, he always overcame his malaise. So when I received a call from him on 16 October, informing me about his diagnosis, whilst I was concerned, I was equally hopeful. It therefore shattered me when I received the news of his passing on Saturday morning. I have been in a surreal haze ever since. I've been requested to pay tribute to Cass on behalf of his friends. Most of our initial encounters with Cass took place at university and during our formative years in the legal fraternity, some 35 years ago. Most memorable and interactive of which were as members of NADEL, as Pubi indicated. That's the National Association of Democratic Lawyers. Whilst our political awareness was embryonic at school, it was born at university and nurtured in NADEL. It was in the home of NADEL that Cass emerged as a political firebrand. This was just before the dawn of democracy. Our futures were uncertain. We were belligerent and fighting for a new South Africa, navigating our romantic dreams of becoming human rights practitioners. Unfortunately, the universe had either forgotten about most of us or found us unworthy, but not for Cass. Cass was the first of our contemporaries to secure employment in an institution serving all our people. This was when he joined the Msunduzi municipality. In a Dickensian twist of fate, this was the very institution, transformed as it was then, that he rebelled against during his days of pre-democracy activism. A dream realized. We fondly remember his endearing smile, his perennial sense of humor, his sage advice, recently punctuated with Sanskrit phrases, his perspicacity, and his sense of family and community, all of which continue to permeate his life. When I recently began doing legal work for the municipality, Cass would occasionally instruct me in matters, and whilst more people assumed that he would favor me with instructions as a result of our friendship, he instead called upon me for what we in private practice detest. We call them freebies. I say this tongue-in-cheek, but he did take liberties with our friendship in this regard, as he understood the term pro amico literally. Well, I always succumbed, silently admiring his integrity, his respect for the public purse, and of course, his subtle opportunism. He informed me recently that he intended retiring in the next few years and that he will offer his services to the municipality as a consultant free of charge. His sense of service and duty never failed him. Cass morphed into a very different person from most of us going back. He was a vegetarian, while most of us were carnivores. When he was making offerings to his Hindu god, most of us were cheering Bacchus and Dionysus. Whilst he was a teetotaler, most of us prefer the Long Island iced version. And whilst he realized his dream early in life, most of us, sadly, are still in the arms of Morpheus. In conclusion, the words of the author James Branch Cabell comes to mind. While it is well enough to leave footprints on the sands of time, it is equally important to make sure they point in a commendable direction. Cass has certainly achieved this legacy. Cass, you have done us, your family, and your community proud. We gather here today to salute you on your journey to the Alcyon Fields, honored that you are one of us. Hambe Gashle, our dear friend and comrade, you have certainly left an indelible mark on our lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Mr. Ori. The next person in terms of the program ought to be the municipal manager. I'm not sure if he's around. I don't see him in the hall. And if he is not, and the mayor is ready to speak, but in terms of protocol, the mayor is always going to be the last speaker. So perhaps the MM is going to miss his chance. So I'm not sure whether he's going to make it or not. Can I be guided? And while we are waiting, I think it's important that I can fill a few gaps. Pubi spoke about the launching of the first branches of the ANC in 1991. And I think His Worship the Mayor, Conrad MZ, will remember the rush that we had to launch these branches so we could get delegation to the first regional conference. And Cass was the recruiting agent. He managed to recruit over 100 members so we could launch the branch. In terms of the leadership of the branch, the first chairperson for the Northern Areas A branch was the late Dr. Chota Motala. There's a street named after him. He was a treason trialist. And the first secretary was the former mayor of the district, Comrade Yusuf Bamji. The other branch that was launched was chaired by Comrade A.S. Chetty, and 333 Church Street is named after him. And Kevin Perumal was the first secretary. Let me welcome the municipal manager. And as I call him up to speak, I just want to say that when I was deployed as the speaker in this municipality in 2010 under the first administration, Kassendren Thaver played a major role in giving me legal advice, because the speaker's office, the speaker actually chairs the council, and almost everything that happens in council goes through council minutes. Cass played a major role in helping me through that particular period. With that, I have pleasure in calling upon Mr. Mopoloba, the municipal manager, to address us.
No, thank you, Chairperson. Let me greet the Honorable Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, members of the Executive Committee, the Thaver family, Ms. Mulapo, Legal Services headed by Ms. Nomfundo Hlope, the legal profession as a whole, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to say much today because I got an opportunity to speak at the funeral. I want to allow the mayor to be able to eulogize on our behalf. What I can say is that indeed we have lost a guru, we have lost an eagle, a legal eagle in Cass. I worked very well with him since my arrival here last year. We were very close with all the colleagues at Legal Services because at every given issue, they've got to brief me, update me about how matters are happening. He carried his work with a lot of professionalism, commitment, dedication, but most of all, he was never shy to raise his views on any particular matter. He would raise his views, but at the same time, he would also accept your view if you are able to advance your view. So we really feel sorry for the colleagues at Legal Services because they have been mentored by him and they were still expecting a lot from him. More especially the senior manager, Legal Services. I think she spoke a lot in the funeral, you know, and other colleagues' messages were read, and you could sense the love that they had for Cass. I see Ori here, you know, we worked a lot, we worked long hours. You know, I saw senior counsel, also Yogi, we worked long hours working on this document, putting together, but what is good is that we never lost a case. We won all our cases through his mind. You know, we never lost a single case. We won, you know, as recently as about a week ago, you know, where we won a case that was quoted in the business day. There's a case that went into the business day. Actually, I received calls all over South Africa, because that case has set a precedent. But also, there were cases that were even quoted in the Supreme Court of Appeal. So to show the caliber of a person that case was. So to the family, we are saying that they are not alone. They are not alone. We are with them. We are with them. But I said it even during the funeral. I want to repeat what I said on Monday, that they must be happy in that Kes never put his foot wrong. Kes has excelled in whatever he was doing. Whether it was in the civic association, it was at university, he was always on the right side. So that's very critical, But also, Ms. Imlapo will talk about a need for all of us to keep ourselves healthy. She spoke passionately at the ESCO now, and I hope Ms. Imlapo will repeat that. And our colleagues, we can use CARE as a symbol of some of the campaigns that we must run against particular chronic diseases. I think we'll be able to name one of the campaign using CARE as an example, because I'm told that he fought. I'm told he fought, and I never realized that. Kes would come to my office as recently as August, September. He would come. I didn't realize that he was sick because he was always beaming, laughing and cracking jokes. And he hit it successfully. I said, Honorable former Speaker, that what he did to us was to leave us with a caliber of legal advisors that are very sharp, that are very able to give us legal advices that are able to take us somewhere. Those teachings that he left here, I'm definitely sure our colleagues, we are building a lot of capacity at legal services. We want those who are not admitted to be admitted. We want to ensure that we use him, as a symbol of excellence. We use CAS to run a lot of campaigns that we need to run here. But I must say, Ms. Imlapo and Nomfundo, I really know how painful, because you worked with him much closer than me, and I'm definitely sure that you will be able to fully recover. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mapoloba. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce or to call upon His Worship the Mayor. But being the political head of this municipality and the chair of the region of the ANC, I thought I would just say a few words before I call him up here. My relationship with him started in the middle 90s, and we served some time together in the regional structures of the ANC, and he served in the provincial. Comrade Mzi Tebola was the deputy chair of the Provincial Youth League of the ANC at the time in 96, 97, 98. And he was acting chair for a long while. And I was the deputy chair of this particular region. It was called the Greater Pietermaritzburg region before it became the Moses Mabhida region. So we've served a lot of time together in taking care of all the municipalities in this particular region. We worked together for many, many years. We have a very close relationship. And both of us were elected in 2000 to become councillors here. And after becoming councillors, in the latter years, around 2008, 2009, when the new legislation came in, I think, if I'm correct, Mr. Mayor, you were the chair of the Oversight Committee and MPEC, and then I was then deployed as the speaker. So we had a lot of oversight to play, and we have a lot of good stories. And one day, maybe around the bright fire, we will discuss those, especially to the younger members of this council, and the administration that might not know that history. But I take great pleasure because both of us had a fantastic working relationship with Cass in our boats here in the municipality and in the political, in the ANC. Both of us had a close working relationship with Cass. And surely we're going to miss him. With that, I call upon His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Mzito Bola, to address us.
Program Director, I call you Mkulu, I call you my comrade, my brother, my father. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Mkhize, members of the Executive Committee, Councillor Pasha, Councillor Sokela, Councillor Ahmed. If there's any other councillor that I may have not recognized, I recognize all of you councillors, but the family of Mr. Thaver, I know his wife cannot be here, but the family is here. We recognize all of you, but municipal manager, your GMs, our legal division in particular, Nomfundo and your team, all other legal fundis here who may have crossed paths with Cass. I see one man and I'm not sure, he will tell me after this if it's really him, because the last time I saw him, he was still very young, Comrade Pillay. He was very young, but now I see it's like his head is gray now. I'm not sure what has happened. Is that really Johan? Is it you, Johan? Okay, okay. Colleagues, we are gathered here today to remember our beloved colleague, Mr. Cass Thaver, a phenomenal legal mind whose admirable work reminded us of the importance of law application in our council's daily operations. Generally, law provides a knowledge of the rules, procedures, and institutions of important sectors of government and other social activity. Cass and other legal minds working in our municipality has assisted us to give effect to policy and the direction in the application and translation and implementation of the law. So, when we make decisions in council, any decision that we make in council is tested legally, whether it can stand any test. Of course, we know that it depends, and I just want to make one very controversial example, municipal manager, which is very controversial, but note that we have the best legal minds who Cass was part of for a very long time. Like, for example, what is in the news today, our decision to work with a football club in the city, which is very controversial. And of course, I'm not going to go into details because somebody decided to challenge us in court on that. But I'm saying we have the best legal minds. Before making such decisions, we get a proper legal advice on the interpretation of the law, on the interpretation of our responsibilities, what it is that is expected of us to do on all the decisions that we are making. And Kes was one of those best legal minds that we could ever get, that God has given us as this municipality. Municipal law is a unique field of law that deals with all aspects of the relationship between a municipality and a person living or working within the jurisdiction of our municipality. Mr. Thaver led our legal department for 7 years, and through his leadership, the municipality has been active in the transformation of social and economic parity and development. As such, we have been able to take informed legislative and social justice policies that follow a distributional pattern of focusing on the poor and ensure the availability of financial and human resources for the implementation of important bylaws and other legislation governing our municipality. The loss of Mr. Thaver is a double blow for a wide legal industry, precisely because the transformation of society and transformation of all spheres of government, including the judiciary, remains a challenge. Transformation involves a fundamental change of society to create a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and a prosperous society. And this has been a long-standing view. Transforming the administration of justice has been the following: the creation of an effective and efficient judicial system which is responsive to the needs and aspirations of all South Africans. The creation of a judiciary which operates within a system of separation of powers and appropriate checks and balances. And the creation of a legitimate judicial system which is gender and race sensitive and responsive to the needs and aspirations of all South Africans. Hence, we say the loss of Kes is a huge loss. Of course, it is through his leadership that today we have a very young female leading our legal division. When we came here, the story that Comrade Beju talks about in 2000 as councillors, there was Johan, Barachivi, who else, Johan? I think there was 3 of you. And then Kes and the rest. You will know the history of our country. Of course, we ended up being friends, but when we started, there was lack of trust between ourselves and the team that Johan led. We couldn't go to him for any advice because we thought, oh, this white man is going to give us all the white tendency advice and mislead us. We had Kes on our side. He was the only one that we could talk to. And of course, it is through his leadership that we were able to start to talk to all the legal people within this municipality, because one of the things that he did was to make sure that we have a very good relationship. And of course, at the end of the day, we realized that, hey man, we have the best team here. So he played that role that very few can play. And now and more than ever, there is an urgent need to speed up the transformation initiatives, particularly those relating to the judicial system and the administration of justice in general. Our conference, I mean the ANC National Conference, both in 1997 and 2002, both in Mafikeng and Stellenbosch, highlighted the need to speed up the transformation of the judiciary in general in South Africa. And Kes had a close working relationship with his colleagues, some of whom have known for over 40 years. You will recall, they always recall his contributions and the contributions he made in changing the society. Of course, those who know him will know that after matriculating at EPS, he got involved in the civic movement under the banner of the Pietermaritzburg Combined Ratepayers Association, and was very instrumental in developing the legal aspects of the proposed march by the civil society against the then Pietermaritzburg City Council in the early 90s. The fight against discriminatory rates laws culminated in thousands of people marching in the streets to fight those unjust past discriminatory practices, which resulted in today's rate rebates that we are all currently enjoying. But to us, it was not just the fight against the issue of rates that were very discriminatory, but it was the fight against a very barbaric system of apartheid, a very barbaric system of separating our people in terms of color, in terms of race, in terms of gender. It was against the fight against discrimination. What Cass led was what became part of the Natal Indian Congress and the United Democratic Front, which fought for the liberation of this country. And we know, we recognize him, we know Cass, the role that he played. So when he joined the municipality, we knew that he's going to lead the transformation of this system. It's just said that we lost him at an age where we believe that what we say we stand for in the entire transformation of the judiciary, we believe there's still a role that Cass would have played. Of course, we are not God, and if God has called him, we know that he is leaving a legacy behind. He also played a pivotal role in the restructuring of the administration, which at senior management level were the all of white origin, like I said. This led to many credible people of color being employed at senior management level. Of course, there's now a debate of the Employment Equity Act, whether it's discriminatory. It has become now a national debate or anything, but Cass played a huge role in transforming this municipality to be what it is today, to represent all the demographics of this city in terms of what it is today. We know you, Cass, and we respect you for that. He was a people's person, a wise counselor and a mentor to many and across all walks of life, of course. That is why whenever in doubt, we would sit and call him. He's one man who would come to you even at night to come and give an honest advice. And if he says, Mr. Mayor, this one is not on, they all know. Even if we had agreed last night, I'll come in the morning and say, no, this one will not stand the test of time. And it's all thanks to Comrade Cass, because to us, he was not just an employee, but he was a comrade, somebody that we knew that we can rely on him. May the family, friends and colleagues, and all those who were touched by his love find comfort in knowing that he lived his life to the fullest, and he made meaningful contribution to the lives of many. And that is everybody who lives in Maritzburg, everybody that Cass ever met was touched one way or the other by his love. May his soul rest in peace. And to the family, our deepest and heartfelt condolences. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, Councillor Mzitobola. Now, at the request of the family, before we go to the vote of thanks, the family would like us to play a bhajan. Now, bhajan translated is a hymn. So this is a Hindu hymn, which we call a bhajan. So can we just pay attention or take a moment of silence to listen to this bhajan, and then I'll call then we'll have the vote of thanks. Thank you.
सत्य साई पादाम्बुजं भज रे मानस निरन्तरम् 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 परम पवित्रं पावन चरणं परम पवित्रं पावन चरणं परम पवित्रं पावन चरणं परम पवित्रं पावन चरणं कलिमल दहनं श्री गुरु 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 चरणं भव भयनाशन दुरित निवारण भव भयनाशन दुरित निवारण भव भयनाशन दुरित निवारण भव भयनाशन दुरित निवारण पतिपुरीश्वर पंकज चरणं पतिपुरीश्वर पंकज चरणं पतिपुरीश्वर पंकज चरणं पतिपुरीश्वर पंकज चरणं भज रे मानस निरन्तरम् मानस निरन्तरम् भज भज रे मानस निरन्तरम् मानस सत्य साई पादाम्बुजं भज रे मानस निरन्तरम् सत्य साई पादाम्बुजं भज रे मानस निरन्तरम् परम पवित्रं पावन चरणं परम पवित्रं पावन चरणं कलिमल दहनं श्री गुरु चरणं श्री गुरु चरणं भव भयनाशन दुरित निवारण भयनाशन दुरित निवारण पतिपुरीश्वर पंकज चरणं पतिपुरीश्वर पंकज चरणं भज रे मानस निरन्तरम् भज 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 भज रे मानस निरन्तरम् सत्य साई पादाम्बुजं भज रे मानस निरन्तरम्
Thank you so much. Before I call the last for the vote of thanks, let me just make an announcement. Tomorrow in this hall, there'll be a memorial service for the former MEC for Education and former MEC for Finance and the former chair of Kassendren, Comrade Ina Kronier. You are all invited to attend the memorial service, which will take place here 13:30 for 2. We would love to see you all to pay wonderful tribute to a wonderful activist who dedicated her life to the ANC and to the good of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. It'll be good to pay tribute to her tomorrow. I know Miss Mulapo for 30 years. She's been a family friend. She was a town planner when I first met her. Then she left us for Selga and for local government, but you had to come back home, didn't you? So I welcome the Deputy Municipal Manager for Corporate Services to give us the vote of thanks. And from me, goodbye, and thank you very much to the municipality for giving me this opportunity to chair this session. I really am humbled. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Program Director, former Speaker, Mr. Beju. Let me start by acknowledging the presence of His Worships, the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor. We also welcome the Honorable EXCO members that are present, Honorable Patla, as well as Honorable Sokela. She's going to kill me. All councillors that are present, whom I may not recognize by name, the MM, and all the friends of Mr. Thaver, whom we used to call him Kes, and Kes was comfortable with that. And all my colleagues that are present in the hall, and also live streaming, members of the family, and all those people who loved Kes, we welcome you to this auspicious occasion. A baobab tree in the African context is a tree that takes a lot to fell. In fact, in legend, these trees don't fall easily. And I liken Kes to a fallen baobab. He was a giant. And in the African culture, we also associate the baobab tree as a metaphor for resilience. And if you look at the life and the example that Kes was actually a baobab. Speakers before me have said that Kes was carrying very serious illnesses with him. But if you looked at him, you would never think that Kes was suffering the illnesses that he suffered. We all know that Kes left this world due to leukemia. But if you met him, certainly those of us that saw him in October, you couldn't tell, as the MM was saying. So that means the man was a giant. You know, one of the things that I personally remember, as other speakers have said, is also his sense of humor. And I'll share a small anecdote with you. In the face of his illness, during COVID, you know, Kes was very careful. He taught us, in fact, all of us, to make sure that we protect ourselves, we wear our masks, and we do what needs to be done during COVID. So if you were careless, he would meet you in the corridor and say, but DMM, then I was called GM. He would say, but GM, where's your mask? So that was Kes. But in the face of all that, at one point, him and I had to attend an MPEC, which is our Municipal Public Accounts Committee. He is, as has been said, was an expert. He was the champion for our litigation matters, and therefore in the domain of contingent liabilities, which if you've worked in a municipality, dogs a lot of municipalities. So Kes was our champion there. So he came to present a particular report. So I was frantically calling him, WhatsApping him to say, Kes, where are you? He said, no, don't stress, I'm on the way. So he walks into the meeting, we are all seated, the meeting has opened. Here Kes walks into the meeting, he's wearing 3 raincoats. Then he's also wearing multiple masks, you know, like 1, 2, 3. One for the mouth, one to cover the nose, and one almost under the eyes. And he's also wearing a plastic mask. So we all broke down with laughter because he was such a comical figure to walk in a very serious meeting. So when we peeled with laughter there, he looked at us very seriously and then said to the chairperson, yes, chairperson, I have to protect myself. In fact, all of you, you should be dressed like me. So that was Kes. Yes, Kes was a real giant. And what was notable as well, other than his humor, his sense of humor, you know, other speakers have said Kes had a good disposition. I don't recall Kes getting annoyed. I honestly cannot. He was always, you know, affable, easy to get on with, even though some of us, like for me, I was senior to him. So we would have some, you know, disagreements, but agree to disagree because he was a professional of note. You will never see a case changing disposition. He was an intellectual giant. He had a supreme, as has been said, legal pedigree. So there's our giant that has fallen. What to do now? The other metaphor for the baobab tree is that it has, because it's resilient, it can grow. So you can fell it, but it will continue growing. The roots go deep. And exactly as the previous speakers have said, MM in particular, you know, Kes leaves a legacy. I think you saw earlier, the legal team stood up and made a rendition for the house. You can see the diversity. We've got youth, we've got females, we've got everything. And all of them, including in the funeral, spoke how Kes had left a piece of him with them. Lastly, the other legacy that he leaves is cancer awareness. The ribbons that we wear, I think it was explained at the funeral that that is the legacy that Kes is leaving for all of us, to be aware cancer is there, it is real, and we have to make means to protect ourselves from, you know, not to be careless. Of course, cancer can get everyone, but how we eat, how we keep our bodies active, and how we avoid the things that I also heard the occupational nurse was speaking about. Let's not smoke, let's not overeat, let's not overindulge, basically. And that was the life that Kes lived. So in closing, because I have a few minutes, my one is to give a vote of thanks to everyone in the house. There are a lot of the legal fraternity who have assisted the municipality to do this wonderful memorial for Kes, and I thank them. I may not thank them individually, but we really thank you. We also thank the family for being present and allowing us to share this auspicious occasion on the passing of their son. We also thank the leadership of the municipality, administratively led by the MM, as well as the mayor, or His Worship the Mayor, and the EXCO members. I've also noted that Madam Speaker is in the house. Madam Speaker, thank you for your presence. And last but not least, let's thank the legal services team, including the other officials. We opened a little team, you know, organizing team in corporate services. So all the colleagues that were part of that organization, the organization started Monday, but as you can see, they've outdone themselves. So that is from me, a program director. I wish to thank you as well as the program director for running the occasion as well as you did. I would have been surprised because Mr. Beju is our former speaker and he used to hold the baton at council meetings. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.